Last Epoch is an ARPG that I bought and tried about a year and a half ago while I was deeply invested in learning Path of Exile. I wasn't very impressed, refunded it, left it in my Steam wishlist to check back in on much later. And now, with a mediocre launch of Diablo 4 behind me and out of the way, and with Last Epoch about to hit full launch in 10 days from time of recording, I decided it was time to pick it back up and give Last Epoch the fair shake it deserves. Before we dive into my thoughts on the game, I want to give you a brief rundown of how much and what I've done so far. So I've beaten the story mode with 4 different characters now. First was a Void Sentinel, then a melee-based Necromancer, then in a group, I got through it with a Lightning Javelin Sentinel, and to finish it up, I beat the story as a Shatter Strike Spellblade. And currently, at time of recording, I'm also working on a Forge Guard Sentinel that's being a lot of fun, but we'll talk about that another time. And with each of these characters, I played several hours of the endgame. I definitely didn't hit like the highest endgame, but I tried the different dungeons, ran the different echoes for a while, moved up a couple of the level spikes with those, and was having a lot of fun. After booting up the game, the first thing I took the time to do was read through all the character classes and subclasses, and I was pleasantly surprised. Right out the gate, before even starting to play, I had 4 or 5 different ideas for builds I wanted to try, and for me that was very exciting, as I love trying to craft builds. After picking my class to play through the story for the first time, I was a little disappointed that there was no character creator, or even a male-female toggle, but coming from Path of Exile, this wasn't too big of a deal for me. Now let's talk about some gameplay. So right away, the character movement felt a little janky to me, and just kind of odd. It was a bit of a turnoff, though after an hour or so, I kind of got used to it, and the character feel just smoothed out for me, especially after unlocking a few abilities and adding a bit of movement speed into the build. It just started feeling a lot better after a bit of time actually playing, though it did just look and feel a little odd immediately on entering. The combat in Last Epoch is not anything I'd call home about, but it feels very solid, and nothing about it bothered me or stood out as particularly bad by any means. Just a very solid, standard ARPG combat system, and none of that is bad, because we often notice bad things a lot more often than we notice solid or things that are just good. So I really don't have major complaints, just that nothing was like, oh my god, this feels amazing, or this is absolutely crazy. Like, it was just good. Something I did notice while leveling my first Sentinel was that even without a lot of points invested, all the different skills I tried all felt pretty good, and it felt like any of them could be very, very viable to base a build around, which is something some other games I've tried don't do very well. Looking at you, Diablo 4. Whether that's a skill just feeling bad without a lot of investment, or simply being an underperforming skill in general, here, that did not seem to be the problem at all. The general look and art style of the game is a little samey and basic, but I will withhold judging it too harshly until full release, as a large graphical overhaul or lighting overhaul or something like that is a part of the 1.0 release. So even though it's a bit same old, I'm not going to really complain about the graphics, as they look fine. They're totally passable, just nothing crazy. The last thing I want to talk about briefly is the endgame, as this is for me at least where ARPGs either thrive or die, and in the probably 10 to 15 hours I have playing the endgame in total, I was left itching to play more and get further, as all the endgame loops felt very satisfying, from the basic mapping, progression, or echoes as they call them, to the key restricted dungeons, new base items to work into my build. It just all works very well together, and it feels very smooth, and it keeps you very engaged, or at least it did for me. I had a lot of fun, and I can't wait to keep playing and get even deeper into the endgame. So to wrap up this little video today, Last Epoch is at most a $35 game, and after my time playing it, I want to say I probably have around 40, maybe 45 hours of playtime right now at the time of me talking at you, and I can more than recommend you all pick it up and at least give it a try for yourself. If you can look past a few little flaws and a few little glitches and jank here and there, it's a wonderful action RPG experience waiting for you at a very reasonable price point, especially compared to some others that came out recently that cost over $60. I think this is well worth the money. If you get it on sale, even better. I definitely think it's at least worth trying and sinking a couple hours into just to see if it clicks for you and is something you'd be interested in investing your time in. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed hearing about my little time spent in Last Epoch, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Until next time, bye.